Are you excited or are you scared as a leader? Many times people struggle with setting boundaries, and I want to share with you that you can set them in a way that is healthy for you and for the person you're interacting with. In this video, we're going to talk about setting boundaries, and this specifically is going to be a Q&A. You are welcome to ask me any questions that you have as it relates to setting boundaries in a professional setting as a leader. Now, if you happen to be struggling with this a bit, maybe you're a woman in leadership and you are in a very highly visible role, but you're finding that you're just being taken advantage of. People are not listening to you. Things are not moving the way you want them to move. You're not making the income that you want to make. I can tell you that there's probably some boundaries we need to work on. And if you want some support, reach out to me at exciteexcellence.org and schedule a strategy session, an executive strategy session, and I'll help you be able to figure it out. We'll determine what boundaries you need to have set and how it can help you move forward in your career. Now, if you happen to be outside of my target audience, you are perhaps a man in leadership, or you are a person that is a leader that's thinking about becoming in a different role, I want to share with you that setting boundaries is something that you absolutely want to do. We've talked about it at length December of 2025. But based on the responses I've been getting from some of my clients and individuals I interact with, I have found that setting boundaries is still something that many people struggle with. So ask me anything about it today. I want to say hello to Bishop Burton. Hello, Bishop Burton. How you doing today? Welcome, welcome. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. Boundaries is something that many people struggle with. And if you have questions specifically as it relates to setting up boundaries, maybe you are struggling with setting boundaries, or maybe you have a hard conversation coming up and you know you're going to have to set boundaries, but you feel a little nervous about it, let me know in the comments below. Let's talk about it. Let's come up with a strategy for you while I have a few minutes this morning to get ready for that next conversation where you need to set those boundaries. Thank you for the heart emojis. I appreciate you. All right, Bishop Burton says, hi, good morning, my sister. Good morning, Bishop. How are you doing today? Good to see you again, as always. Cat 23rd. Hello, Cat. Welcome back. Hope you're doing well today. Cat says, hey, Doc. Hello, Cat. Good to see you. Good to see you. So let's talk about boundaries. Let me know what questions you all have as it relates to setting boundaries. What boundaries do you need to set as a woman in leadership, as a man in leadership that you are struggling with? Let's set them. Let's figure something out for you in just a few. I do want to say that many times people struggle with setting boundaries for the following reasons. The main reason I would say people struggle with setting boundaries is because they are afraid to set them. As individuals and as people, we typically don't want to be in conflict with other people. We don't want to be in those challenging situations where someone's upset at us, someone's mad at us, or etc. We try to steer away from those situations. Therefore, what happens is when you need to set a boundary, typically we associate setting boundaries as being something negative. There's this negative connotation that sometimes comes up with setting boundaries. So I want to encourage you to think of boundaries a bit differently. Boundaries are not negative. They don't necessarily have to have a negative connotation with them. However, if you set boundaries, it's actually a way for you to be a bit more in control of your life. I will tell you that countless times I've seen a lot of people, not only women in leadership, but men in leadership struggle with this also, is when they're in a situation professionally, and let's say they start a role or start a new position, and they tend to maybe be a bit more lax in their communication in terms of how they speak to people and etc. And so what happens is that there comes a point in time where this person, this individual, this leader has determined that they need to elevate. They need to go to that next level, and the way that they have been communicating in the past is not going to allow them to be the person that they really want to be. And so what happens is there's this tension that forms because the person that wants to elevate as a leader tries to communicate in a better way, tries to set those professional boundaries. Maybe you're a leader and you have found that certain individuals just take up all of your time. They come and talk to you forever and ever and ever and take up your time. And you're trying to figure out, well, how can I manage that? How can I still be present and supportive, but understand I have boundaries too? Maybe you're someone, and I want to say welcome to those of you who are joining today. Maybe what you can do, excuse me, and maybe someone is in a situation where they are perhaps saying too much. Maybe you're in a professional setting, you're saying too much about yourself, you're being a bit too overly generous with your personal information. You want to set boundaries. And so there's always this tension that happens when you're trying to set your boundary, but the people that you're communicating with are not necessarily at that level you want them to be. So what do? Well, first, you try not to be afraid. And you're welcome to ask me any questions as it relates to setting boundaries if you have a hard topic or hard situation coming up. But the first thing you want to do is don't be afraid. Boundaries are healthy for you, and boundaries are healthy for the other person you're communicating with also. Because if you can set those boundaries, it can help you live a more calm, fulfilled life. So for example, when you are trying to communicate with somebody at another level and you're trying to say, okay, I don't want to talk about a certain topic, or I don't want to be associated with a certain topic, you have to start doing it subtly. So for instance, I'll give you an example, and I want to say hello to John Falcon. Hello, welcome John. How you doing today? And we have Kaufman Home. Hello, welcome. Hope you all doing well today. All right, so for an example, many years ago when I was a W-2 employee, there was a conversation that my coworkers at the time were having that was really not professional. Is really inappropriate to be having in a workplace setting, and sometimes people just talk about things that's not appropriate. Well, I didn't want to be associated with that, and I had to set my own boundaries because myself, I was communicating at a higher level. I wanted to become that best version of myself, and I knew being around people that were talking about things that were completely inappropriate is not going to help me. What did I do? I decided to excuse myself from the conversation, and I left the meeting and left the room. Even though no one really thought about it at the time, sometimes you have to detract yourself because you don't want to be associated with certain type of situations. And that is how you start setting boundaries. You have to know what's important to you. How do you want to be perceived as, and what specifically do you want to be associated with? And if you're around individuals that are not doing successful things, or maybe they are not participating in fruitful conversations, you have to start moving yourself out of those situations and detracting yourself. Now, before I go into that, I want to say hello, and welcome to all of you who have joined. If you have questions as it relates to setting boundaries as a leader, let me know in the comments below. I'm here to support you any way that I can. I do want to let you know that I talk about these very challenging, high stakes, high pressure situations all of the time on my channel. And if you like this information and you want to get more technical strategies in terms of what do you say, how do you say when you need to communicate those boundaries under pressure, then you're welcome to subscribe to the channel. I want to say hello to Rana Pegada. Hello, welcome. We have Robert Bostic. Can you give me a shout out for my birthday? Well, happy birthday, Robert. Hope you're doing well today. Now, we talked a little bit about setting those boundaries. As I mentioned, don't be afraid. Do not be afraid to set those boundaries because you're going to need to set them. Sometimes as leaders, as entrepreneurs, as individuals, we have a bit of fear that we feel, excuse me, when it comes to different things. Sometimes you have to feel that fear and just do it anyways. And if you feel kind of worried about, oh, I don't want to hurt this person's feelings, I don't want them to be mad or upset with me. Well, what's the cost of you not setting this boundary? Let's talk about this. What's the cost of inaction? What is it going to cost you if you decide that you don't want to say anything? What is it? It could cost you your job. It can cost you your sanity. It can cost you your money. It can cost you a lot. So the next time that you're afraid and you're worried about setting a boundary, you don't want to hurt someone's feelings, you don't want to make them upset, I want you to think about, what is it going to cost me to not say anything? And is it worth it? Sometimes it's simply not worth it. And this is the reason why people struggle with boundaries, because we don't want to hurt people. But sometimes we're hurting ourselves. And who's more important at the end of the day? Keep that in mind. All right, let me see what's going on. Kat says, can you call people that drag you down anchors? Yes, you can call them anchors, and you can call them very negative anchors, Kat, because I will tell you Kat, and I know kind of where you're at and where you're going, but ultimately, when you are developing yourself as a professional, you're trying to go to that next level, you're trying to level up, so as some people say, you have to be so incredibly careful about who you spend your time around. I cannot tell you how many times I have seen people, really good people, really amazing leaders, associate themselves with people that are perhaps those anchors we're talking about, Kat, and it has drugged them down, not only personally but professionally, and they lose their credibility. Their teams don't trust them, as we talked a little bit about yesterday in terms of communicating with passion as a leader. Literally, this is all of the above type of scenario. So being really careful about who you're spending your time around and setting those boundaries will be one of the most important things you have to do. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes these may be individuals that you spent your life with, that may be family members or maybe very close friends, and you come to a point in your life where you say, you know what, the way that they are communicating or behaving is not reflective of where I want to be, and you have to make that break. Now, I'm not necessarily all for you completely have to cut ties with people. Sometimes it's best for you to do that. But then there's sometimes where you just have to start distancing yourself. I've done that. I have several people that I've interacted with over the years, and every time when I would speak to them, it's always something bad. It's always something negative. This is going wrong. This is going wrong. And you know, this person passed away and this and that. And I just got to the point where I said, you know, I'm a little tired of it. I mean, I know life happens. I understand that. And I'm not necessarily saying I'm putting myself in the positive bubble, because life happens. Things that are great happen. Things that are bad happen sometimes too. But you have to just really be mindful that the people you associate with can either help you grow on your journey or they can hurt you. And if you do not have those people that are trying to help you on your journey to grow, you're welcome to subscribe to the channel, because I will be that person for you, friend. Okay, Kat says, nothing personal, just wanted to know if it is appropriate to say it. Yes, I would say yes. If you have a situation where you know someone is being negative, you may want to, the way you could say it, Kat, because if you have somebody that's negative and you're trying to detract from them, you don't necessarily want to say, hey, you are an anchor and you're dragging me down. You don't want to say that. Like, you don't want to say that. You may think you're thinking that, but you don't want to necessarily say it. You could say, there's a couple things that I am focusing on right now, personally and professionally, and it's going to take up a lot of my time. I'm not going to be able to interact as much as I used to. I just want to let you know in advance. And they may say, oh, what's going on? You don't have to go into details, Kat. You can just say, there's just a couple things I'm working on. And that'll be a good way for you to start setting that boundary and start setting a bit of distance between you and that person. It just depends on the extent of it, Kat. If it's somebody that is really dragging you down, sometimes you just have to completely cut ties. But if it's something where the person may just need some help, maybe they've only been around negative people and that's all that they know, then you may want to be more, I would say, mindful of your response, because you don't want to tell somebody, you're my anchor, you're dragging me down, I'm done. That's rude. But you do want to say, I have some other priorities I'm working on. I may be a bit more busier taking care of a few things. I'm just letting you know in advance. If you feel like you need to say that. Sometimes you don't even need to say that, Kat. You don't need to say anything at all. But I appreciate you all so much. I'm not sure if I'm going live this evening. There's an event that's going on here in South Florida, and I don't know what time I'm going to be finished with it. So if I do not see you all this evening, if I go live today, I will definitely see you next week. I do want to say hello to my women leaders. It is International Women's Day this weekend, and so I appreciate you all for what you contribute to my channel, and of course, why I'm here to support you on your journey. I hope you all have an absolutely amazing weekend. If I don't see you this evening, if I'm not able to go live, but if you have any questions as it relates to any of my videos, anything about boundaries that comes up for you, and you're trying to navigate those hard conversations, just put them in the comments below. On any video, I will respond to you and give you some insight and help you be able to navigate that very challenging situation and set those boundaries so that you can be happy. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.